Africa has been very stuck in the past. Every time I see that the programs of quantum computing are emerging and coming up, and there is a lot of interest in the field and investment in the field, Africa is always white on the map. How can we make quantum computers bigger and more reliable? I don't have that delusional excitement that you have as a first-time founder. I feel like I'm much more realistic. Now I have a much clearer view of how to build a company. The technology will exist, but it doesn't have to be done by everyone. Sometimes when you are working in your lab, don't really care about politics or care about policy or care about what people are going to do with this. If you don't, then you may end up actually building something that will be used as a weapon rather than for advancing humanity.
You are entering Rivela, universe of the women who break the barriers and change the world. Today we are with a really young talent with an amazing story and, well, nothing else to say. Let's talk about Quantica and discover these amazing women. So let's bark. Woof, woof.
She has been the winner of the People Rivela MWC 25 challenge. So please, I already asked you about to send me your elevator pitch, but now I need you to actually look to the camera and pitch again.
Hi, I'm Sahar. I am a researcher in quantum computing, and I am launching Qubit Analytics to apply quantum algorithms into large-scale simulations and data analysis for business use cases in sectors of finance and logistics. So as you may have heard, quantum computing is a very interesting and emerging technology that is promising to offer more processing speed and computational power in order to solve some of the problems which may not have been solved yet using the infrastructures that we have in computations. So what we do is that we provide a new way into looking into these problems and solving them using a more powerful processor, which is a quantum computer.
Boom. Why that?
So I would say, a researcher in quantum computing already. Mm-hmm. And I started in quantum computing almost 6 years ago. It was by pure interest and pure curiosity, but also it aligned with my studies. My background is in physics and nanotechnology. And I saw that quantum computing is a very, very interesting field that is emerging. There is a lot of, I would say, new knowledge about it. There is a lot to discover. There is a lot to build. So I went for, I would say, higher studies in that field. I'm working on my PhD in quantum computing. And in parallel, I also want to see how that can be applied into business cases and if we can build actually real things with quantum computers, and it's happening.
It is happening,
yeah.
Definitely. You have chosen one of the most promising fields in the near future, because quantum is changing everything. What is it about your PhD?
My PhD is focused more on how we can build large-scale quantum computers. So what we have right now are very small prototypes, which we are improving their quality and their stability to eventually have a full-fledged quantum computer that will be doing what we expect them to do, which is solving the complex problems which we cannot solve with what we have already. So my PhD is on proposing a new type of architecture or chip design that will enable us to put, I would say, much more qubits into one system. Mm-hmm. And with that, we will be increasing the computational power of our processors. So it is a mix between computation, but also quantum communication.
Okay, yeah, because yesterday we were with Marta, the Kilimanjaro's CEO, and she was telling us that one of the biggest problems with quantum was precisely the power of the computation.
Exactly.
That those microchips, that they are not good enough or power enough to bring solutions faster.
Yes, that's true. Kilimanjaro is actually one of very good companies that is already building their own quantum processors. But I think the common problem is how do we make them reliable and good enough to run simulations on them that would give us good results. Because for now, we can definitely access them. We can run some small programs on them, but there is too much noise and there is too much error in the computers that will give you, I would say, not very accurate results. There is, of course, a lot of post-processing and interpretation of these results in order to get some input from them. But to be very, I would say, objective, we are still not at the stage where we can say that we have a ready quantum computer. But in parallel, there is a huge research that is happening in that area. One of them is my PhD. So my PhD, I would say, is one small step into the process of improving quantum computers, which is based on, I would say, an architecture that is blending computation and the communication network on chip in order to make the system large enough to host a large number of qubits. And once we have a large number of qubits, which should be of good quality, we will be able to have, I would say, a reliable processor. So what I am doing mainly in research of my PhD is to have, I would say, a small contribution in that sense or that line of research. But definitely, eventually, it will be collective work of many people, of many companies, of many research centers and universities, of course, that will eventually give us the best way of building these processors.
You can totally say that your PhD is the first step. I mean, is the direction, you're hitting the direction to actually improvise those communications and be
Yes,
faster.
I mean, like any other PhD, I would say, it is one increment step that will improve on the process that has already started. I mean, I am not inventing, I would say, the approach or inventing a new type of research or new line of research, but there is already an approach that is being discussed, and I had my input in that discussion. And I would say I'm proposing a way of doing things, which is, I would say, in the sense of how can we make quantum computers bigger and more reliable.
What will be your outputs?
My output is mainly what are the best topologies and system parameters that would ensure that there is reliable communication in the quantum systems. So there are two, I would say, schools in quantum computing.
Okay.
Either we keep on putting good quality qubits within the same chip, or we build smaller chips which have, I would say, a small size or a small number of qubits, which should also be reliable and stable. And instead of, I would say, packing one processor with multiple qubits, we can build multiple smaller size qubits and interconnect them.
Okay.
And that interconnectivity is not, I would say, an easy task, because you need to have also very good links. You need to also have, I would say, high fidelity or reliable instructions which are happening between processors. And for that, we need to take into account how do we dispose these architectures, or how do we place these interconnects, and what would be the best range of parameters, or what would be the best parameters that would ensure that we have the high fidelity we are seeking. So my PhD is on delimited, I would say, giving a range of parameters which should be good enough to construct these interlinks to eventually have a best output. So the best output would be mainly how do we transport qubits from one chip to the next, or how do we operate between processors by the media of these interconnects. So my part is mainly on that link between the processors that will make sure that we will have reliable instructions.
I will be like this, hearing you speaking all the time. You're like, go on, go.
I hope it's like the image is clear enough.
It's super interesting. This is super interesting. I mean, come on. It's like, what? And people should know about that.
I hope it's gonna be good output, I would say, of the PhD, and eventually it will also help into reaching the objective of scalability.
If I don't understand it wrong, I think that you are creating some kind of API to actually connect those chips.
It's more of a physical link. So
a physical.
Yes,
a
exactly.
physical. So you are actually creating something physical. It's hardware.
I'm proposing how to create them. Yes, but technically there is an experimental validation part after that. That should be done, of course, after my PhD.
And you're gonna continue with that?
Well, I'm still interested, I would say, in the research line, but probably I'm going to go to the company after the
Well, it's like, okay, how is going to be possible to actually combine both things? So I'm wondering how, but it's like that,
Quantum, I would say, computing is still at a stage where you need to understand the hardware and the technology at the very low level in order to have a control over it and to understand it quite well. Okay, so at this point, everything is very compact, from the software to the hardware part. So technically speaking, if you want to design very good solutions and very good algorithms, you need to understand the underlying technology and how it actually works. It's a completely different logic from how we are used to working with computers. And if you really want to have, I would say, an efficient and very optimized solution for it, you need to combine your knowledge both in software and hardware. Now, I did a lot of hardware in my PhD. That's, I think, good enough to start. Well, there is no limit to knowledge, of course. But I want to move to, I would say, a higher layer of the application and actually see what we can do with quantum computers in the near term or also long term, because we need to look ahead, I would say. And that would be mainly designing algorithms, so software side more than hardware.
Well, I mean, the business part is coming here, you
Yes,
know?
exactly.
And well, the most interesting thing that I love from your idea is that definitely you are trying to bring solutions to the smaller business. So because quantum right now is for the biggest one, so for the biggest players.
Yeah.
So to democratize the use of quantum and the potential, the power of that, I think.
I mean, for me, it's mainly on, okay, so there is a lot of good, I would say, institutions and companies which are already developing the hardware in a very good way. They are on track on their objectives, and there is always a very good output year after year. So I am more or less, I would say, let's say, optimistic about the output. And I am following also their roadmap, and they seem to be on track. But in parallel, there is still, I would say, a lag behind in terms of adoption and what we really can do using quantum computers for businesses. Because there is, I would say, a big gap between the theoretical solving of a problem and the business implementation. You don't always have your mathematical equations which are like completely, I would say, taking into account all of the constraints of your business. So there is always, I would say, a gap between the theoretical solving of the problem and the actual implementation for businesses. More data are involved, more constraints are involved, and of course you need to take into account multiple, I would say, variables into the equation, literally and also figuratively, in order to have, I would say, a good solution to the problem that you are seeking. So that's why I didn't even propose my own algorithms, I would say, in order to solve these business cases. Of course, there is a lot of foundational research for that. But when you go to businesses, you see that they tell you, okay, we know these equations, we know the mathematical model of the problem, but how to solve it is much more complex than that. I have my data, I have my history, and it is telling me that there is more to the solving of the problem than the equations. So that's why I'm trying to take the problem from different perspectives, from different angles, the theoretical part, but also what the businesses are seeking, how they are always, I would say, they have always been solving their own computational problems, and how can quantum computing can contribute to that. So technically speaking, it's really business-oriented so problem solving rather than research-oriented or algorithmic, I would say, analysis.
Have you thought about any potential problematic regarding to your business? I mean, do you know what is the key thing that you are going to face to make it succeed?
To make it succeed, of course, I feel like people, when they come to you, when they see that you are working in quantum computing, they more or less have strong opinions about it, right? They either come very excited or they come very closed off and they say, no, this is not happening, this does not exist yet. But the reality of things that it does already exist. We know how it works. And the theory is it exists, and the foundational science is actually correct, and it proves it. We are still lagging behind on the experimental part and development part just because it's a complex science. We are dealing with the smallest particles of the universe in very extreme temperatures. I mean, we are working at 0 Kelvin, which is colder than space. And we are generating all of this environment in labs. And while it's very exciting, it's also very complex to generate. So I would say there must be a realistic view of the field. So the conversation always starts with, there is a quantum computer, there is a prototype. We are trying to, I would say, bridge, I would say, the research to the businesses. We know that businesses require more than just analytical solutions to their problems. There is more, I would say, constraints and variables taken into account for their regard. And there is a way. I mean, it's just a new way of solving things, okay? A new way of improving things. So there must be, I would say, a key point in which we will see that all of things emerge, from research to development to also hardware development.
From my perspective,
Yeah.
you have a blue ocean here, and the problem is
Yeah.
people doesn't know how to use AI.
Yeah.
So to go to quantum is like, wow. I mean, I don't even know how to use AI, not even know that quantum exists regarding to that. So I do think that the effort will be in that way. Have you thought about that?
Yes, for sure. I mean, things have been accelerating quite fast. We've seen how AI moved quite fast from 2020 to now, especially since 2023. And it's completely, I would say, normal to see people fascinated, but at the same time, they don't know what to do with it and how to apply it. And there are solutions coming up every day, and it's very interesting because you could see that really this can be integrated in all fields of life, and you can use it for your personal, I would say, interest, but also professional interest. It's very, very cool. But at the same time, there are a lot of other sciences which are developing. And I know that as for, I would say, any person, eventually the technology will exist, but it doesn't have to be adopted by everyone, right? So for quantum computing, exactly. I mean, you will not use a quantum computer to watch a movie or to subscribe to Netflix.
Can you imagine? I mean,
or surf Google. Yeah.
can you say, can you give me an example using quantum computing
Yeah, it will
for
be
novice?
But yeah, exactly. It's mainly for businesses, usually the businesses which are already using infrastructures of supercomputers.
Can you give us two
Let's say,
examples?
for example, I would say research and science, let's say the example of astrophysics. Okay? So astrophysics, they're always getting data from the outer space and they want to analyze this data for certain purposes. For example, you saw the image processing for the black hole, or I would say the image processing for certain planets which are very, very far away from our planet. And this is all data that is coming in a huge amount in real time, okay? So they always need an infrastructure of servers and supercomputers in order to process these images or this data in order to eventually come up with the conclusion or output in the end. So technically speaking, this is a very interesting field to look into because they are hitting, I would say, a limit with the capacity of computation that they have. No matter how big their data centers or no matter how big their computers, they are always, I would say, in need of faster processing of information or much bigger memory to keep their information stored, right?
So
this
companies.
exactly. This is where we come in. This is where quantum computing could be interesting in the sense that we can store these, I would say, more or less the same amount of data, but for much less resources, right? Instead of having a big data center, once quantum computers, I would say, are mature enough, it's not the current stage, definitely, but once it is mature enough, we will be able to have the equivalent of all of that data center power into one quantum computer.
Did you calculate any savings or something regarding to that?
So you would be very, I would say, interesting to see that the computational power of quantum computers grows exponentially with the number of qubits, okay? So for example, if you have 100 qubits for your system, you can store up to 2 to the power of 100.
Okay.
Right?
That
The computational, I would say, power of your system. 2 to the power of 100 is more than the number of atoms that we have in the universe. So it's a huge number. And technically speaking, storing data costs energy. And also treating this data in, I would say, timely manner is very costly. So technically speaking, we will be having an equivalent power to what we already know and can use using supercomputers. But it will be, I would say, we are expecting to be more efficient in runtime for solving problems, but also in terms of energy. Like quantum computers, to keep them working, you will need less energy. I would say much less energy than we are consuming right now in data centers and supercomputing facilities. So it's a very promising thing. I mean, I know now we are at the prototyping phase, but it's fine. I mean, all technology was in prototyping phase.
Come on, you just started the company.
Oh yeah, for me, it's...
When did you start it? Say that to the camera.
Maybe in January 1st, 2025, so 2 months ago, yeah.
So like, okay.
Yeah. I mean, we started the operations officially, like looking into, of course, the incorporation of the company, but also the activity and all of the business operations behind it. It's really 2 months old. It's very, very young. But technically speaking, I spent the entire year last year into looking whether there is an interest even into building this company. So there is a huge work that started already before starting the company, which was looking into, okay, what do we have right now? these are the computational methods that we can use. This is the processing power that we currently have. This is what we can do. And of course, I'm a researcher by background, so also my instinct is going, okay, how do I have my own way of solving things? Which parts can I improve? Which I would say aspects of the algorithms which may need more optimization. And also part of my research in algorithmic research of quantum computers is focused on that aspect. Okay, so I'm always starting with what we have already, but how can I improve that? So it's I think the researcher instinct that's coming up also in the company.
You are doing the whole process of mounting a business, creating a business step by step. It's like, chapo, nothing to say. Like, I'm speechless. Where are you from?
I'm originally from Tunisia.
Tunisia.
Yes.
I mean, where did you study?
So I studied all my life in Tunisia up until my master's, and then part of my master's was in Germany. It was at Karlsruhe Institute of Technology, and I did my research at the facility that works on the control of superconducting qubits. So also in the hardware of quantum computers. And then I did my PhD here in Barcelona at UPC. And yes, my research is mainly focusing on quantum communications for scaling quantum computers.
When did you move to Barcelona?
Almost 3 years ago. Yeah.
Are you planning to stay here to continue the company?
I wish, but for personal reasons, I'm moving to Canada. My husband is there, so I had to move.
Well, actually, from a business perspective, I do think that's better. I'm sorry, Spain, but we're going to miss.
But Spain is actually one of
talent.
In Rivela, we reached 7 million impressions in the last 7 months.
Yeah!
Now we are preparing the next season. We have a lot of things to do and to say. We are looking for partners to join us and change the world. If you know some company that might be interested in that kind of exposition, please let us know. And now let's spark again.
But trust me, I really wish I could stay in Spain, especially Spain. I mean, Europe overall, I think it has a very good infrastructure for, I would say, research and development of quantum computing. But Spain especially, Barcelona especially, it has a very, very special place in my heart. I loved it since the minute I landed here. I mean, it's very close to Tunisia in many sense. Like, of course, the weather, yes, Mediterranean still, but also there is a very nice balance between having a good life, but also advancing on your career that I really like in Barcelona. I mean, what can you not love about Barcelona, right? Very full of life. The beach, the people, it's big, but at the same time, it's like warm enough and close enough. I really love it. I will definitely keep on coming here. Maybe one of the excuses why I want to have the company here is to always come back.
Also, you have here one of the supercomputer centers.
Exactly, yeah.
So I don't know if you're moving to the city who has another one, but there is not so many in the world.
Yeah, but exactly. Like we have the supercomputers center in Barcelona, but I'm moving to Toronto, which is also very advanced. So I really don't know how to compare both. I really don't know. But for me, Barcelona is very, very special. For Toronto, it feels like it's more of business and life and just focusing on building a career there.
You're going to miss us.
Yes.
It's fine. It's totally fine. Do not worry. What did you dream about to become when you were a kid?
Maybe this may be a bit typical for anyone who studied physics, but actually wanted to be an astronaut. So
I love it.
I think it's very typical of any kid who was interested in physics. So no, I didn't go into astronomy or astrophysics. I completely went on the other side of physics, which is I went to nanoscience rather than astrophysics and the science of planets. No. I completely went to the other side. But I mean, you never know what happens, right? I mean, how I started in quantum computing was pure coincidence. How I found a master's program was pure coincidence.
What?
So just
at
just
what age was that?
For the astronaut or nanoscience?
The change to nanoscience.
Oh, it was 23, 24, yeah. That's when I started my master's.
Okay.
So you'd be surprised how I started my master's.
Tell us.
Okay. So I was actually working in Tunisia and I was finishing my bachelor's studies. It was in applied physics, it was in electronics, and all of that stuff, which I wasn't very fond of. And then I wanted to, okay, maybe I can do a master's in theoretical physics because that's what I really actually enjoy. And then I applied to one program which was on quantum mechanics, okay? But the program in quantum mechanics was very competitive. And since I come from an applied physics, I didn't have much chance with the people applying. And then by chance, I said, okay, there is another program that looks like quantum mechanics, which was called nanophysics and nanotechnology. I'm just gonna apply, you never know what happens. And then I got accepted into that program. And I found huge support from my professors. I mean, from day one, they knew that I'm coming from a different background. I may be having some difficulties to integrate with the program. It was completely different from what I did in my bachelor's. But there was a combination of support, my interest in the fields, but also I really wanted to make it in the master's. It was more of a challenge for me. I didn't want to fail. And it was still interesting. And yeah, one of my very supportive, I would say, professors actually introduced me to quantum computing. He was my professor in quantum mechanics. And there was just a hackathon in quantum computing in South Africa, and he recommended me to go. And that was my very first time hearing about quantum computing. Back then, there was only one course on Coursera in quantum computing. It was very beginner. I had absolutely no way to learn quantum computing, and I just went to the hackathon. I didn't do much, no prizes, no anything, but I just, yeah.
You just were there
Exactly.
discovering new things.
Exactly, I was just there discovering new things. But at the same time, there were like the people who were organizing the hackathon, but also the mentors were the actual IBM researchers that built quantum computers.
Wow.
And back then, talking to them, it was like talking, I don't know, maybe to Albert Einstein if it was like just creating or just announcing his research, right? So it was very, very big. And having those one-to-one conversations with them, and to actually learn from why quantum computing is interesting and why we are doing them from the people who actually spent years, no one hearing about them, no one giving them prizes, yet they still do it. It was very inspiring. I would say doesn't give them justice. It was very, very good experience. It really opened my eyes into research and what it really means to be a researcher and to be doing something that no one understands and no one cares about, but you still keep on going and you see your research actually becoming a product, and you see the entire process from like pure equations on paper and to actually have a machine that's working in your lab and doing things. And IBM, I think by that point, spent 30 years of building research in quantum computing. It was, I think, one of the biggest companies doing that. And hearing directly about the research from them was really amazing. So I went back to Tunisia, just the beginning of the pandemic. And back then, a lot of resources started coming up in quantum computing. IBM Quantum was doing that. And I would say that's the year where I actually started taking it seriously. And since it aligned with my master's, it was very natural to me to combine both fields and to actually be specialist in the field. So that's how a coincidence actually got me into quantum computing, and I'm now building a company for it. So you never know what happens.
Yeah, you can totally say that could be magic. Like,
yeah, right? Yeah.
What was the name of the mentor that recommended you to go to the hackathon?
So he is Professor Murad Telmini. He was my professor of quantum mechanics and quantum information science at the University of Túnez in Manar, which is where I did my master's. And yes, so part of my master's was in Tunisia, but also I had very, very good supervisors for my research in my master thesis. I went to KIT, and practically there was also a group of physicists, experimental physicists, also working on quantum computers. But our part was mainly on building the control system of those quantum computers. And it was also a very, very good learning experience from them. I mean, Germany, it's very, very good for research in this type of technologies. And then also, just by fate, I came to Barcelona because I also was not planning on coming to Barcelona for research. It was a very good opportunity. I did my interview with my now supervisors. I really like them as people, but also as supervisors. They have very, very good profiles as researchers. And then I really didn't see any weak point, I would say, in the proposal, so I went for it. And I'm so happy that I ended up here. I mean, really, Barcelona is very cool.
That was
really
5 years ago. I mean,
yeah. So what do you think of it? Yes, 5 years ago.
you are super young. What would you ask to the future you?
did we make it with Qubit Analytics? I really want to know if it's going to work or not. I hope it really takes off. So I'm very excited for it. And it's really going to be an opportunity to see what I actually can do with my research and my background. So I also want to know, how is it going in Toronto? Is it better than Barcelona?
Spoiler.
Yeah.
No.
Spoiler, no. Yeah. Expected.
It's gonna be awesome, and you're gonna come a lot.
And,
I know that.
Do we finally have a quantum computer that we have been promising people to have? Because it's also a big responsibility to promise people, like, be it researchers, students, investors. I think it's a huge bet. And my question would be, did we finally make it? Did our research, I would say, pay off? Do we really see a quantum computer? I hope the answer is yes. And deep down, I know the answer will be yes, because it attracts very, very smart people. People who actually love to do new things. And I really cannot see, it's going to be a pity if there will be no positive result. So that's why deep down I know it's going to happen. With the flux of people, the flux of interest, the talent that is behind it.
Oh my God, that's so inspiring. You're gonna make it. I know that.
Hopefully so.
I know that too. Whoa.
Oh my God, I want to hug you.
You're gonna rock me. Thank you. Whoa. Definitely.
Oh my God.
Thank you for sharing your story. One of the purposes of that video podcast is actually to be inspired, to be there, and to change the world. And you are doing exactly that.
Thank you, dear. Thank you.
Come on. You're Dios mío. This is gonna be huge. And you know what? The best part of that is that you are liking so much the idea that there is no chance that you are not gonna make it.
Thank you for saying that. Thank you.
Remember that.
I will.
Because in the highs and in the lows, sometimes could be different or hard. Right now.
Yeah, for sure.
A big aha moment in the last year.
In the last year, a lot has happened in the last year, I would say. But the biggest, I would say, aha moment, it may not be, I would say, very positive, but I come from Africa. So Africa has been very stuck in the past of conflicts, of being behind in technology and industry, of always being exploited. And really, every time I see that the programs of quantum computing are emerging and coming up, and there is a lot of interest in the field and investment in the field, Africa is always white on the map. So one of the aha moments I had was actually during an event that happened here in Barcelona. And there was a representation from all over the world. And I was the only person from Africa. And I wasn't even having, I would say, participation in that event. I was mainly organizing, so there wasn't much to say from my part. But that's why, for example, at this point, I'm involved with an initiative in quantum computing in Africa that is called Africa Quantum Consortium, in which we are building a network of experts who are based in Africa, but also outside of Africa, the diaspora of researchers, in order to actually have a place on the map. And it's a huge, I would say, map. It's a huge continent, and it's very dispersive. I would say the efforts are very dispersive, but at least we are trying to build the platforms where ideas can emerge, and we actually have a place, I would say, in the industry, because we have missed a lot of things. We have missed the Industrial Revolution, we have missed the technology, AI, chip design, chip development, and it really doesn't make any sense that at this point we are still missing on those opportunities. Now, I know that starting quantum computing in practically a place that doesn't have a technological infrastructure to host such, I would say, an advanced technology, but there is always a starting point. And I think the generation, me or even like the older generation, which also, of course, come in with their experience, we have seen how the world has moved. And we also understand that if you don't contribute back to where you come from, you don't always stay as an outsider, but if you really don't contribute back, it's like you do it for everyone except for your people, right? So I think also that was one of the aha moments. Also took part in some of the workshops that talks about policy making and the technology sovereignty. That's of course focused on Europe mainly, and a few European countries would also want to have their own advantage and want to have, I would say, a chunk in the technology that is to them, not to the EU. But it was very, very serious work. I mean, it was very, very serious talk. I mean, people are actually talking about patenting and having, I would say, an edge over the world, I would say, even regionally. And then Africa is just there, just going to be another market. It's not going to contribute to anything. So it was, I think, a lot of discussions that eventually led me to take the initiative very seriously for the Africa Quantum Consortium. And I hope in the future, all of the discussions that we are having will actually have a payoff, a good payoff, and of course a physical payoff, and not just keep on talking like we have always done. Opportunity, but it's true. So I think that was one of the biggest aha moments, which may not be related to technology, but rather to technology policy.
One big learning.
Except for learning the science and the limits of what we can do and how much we still don't know, and there is a lot to discover.
A personal one.
A personal one? Oh, I recently got married, so I think that's a huge, I would say, lesson in my life, because my life has been mostly like research and career oriented, but also having a very beautiful and nice and stable personal life. I think it gives you a new taste of life, I think, that I'm very, very happy about. That was a very, very nice thing to discover, I would say, love and marriage. But also for learning is that you always, I would say, look forward and look, I would say, to the future, but also do not forget your roots and where you come from. And also, like, you are contributing to the science, I would say, for the general people. Yes, of course, because you think of the humanity scale when you do research, but also do something for your people and for what you come from. Because if you don't, it's really going to be always like, okay, so I have done all of this and everyone is taking advantage of it, but except for my people who is still stuck in some conflicts, which is not going to lead anywhere but more conflicts. So I think that was really one of the best things that I got engaged with last year, which is technology policy, not just technology development. And it's another side of discussions, another objective, another way of looking at things. It may be sometimes conflicting, like you really hear a lot of, not tension, but there is a lot of like excitement and emotional discussions involved. And sometimes when you are working in your lab, you don't really like care about politics or care about policy or care about what people are going to do with this. And if you don't, then you may end up actually building something that will be used as a weapon rather than for advancing humanity. So as a person coming from pure research and pure science, also looking at the other side of discussions was very, very cool.
The big mistake. La gran cagada.
Okay, the biggest mistake. To be honest, I always pride myself into saying that I haven't yet made any big.
That's not true. I mean,
I haven't made big mistakes. But I can maybe tell you about a few things that happened that maybe deviated me from my path at some point. So, I actually had an experience before with trying to build a tech company, but it was back in my country. It doesn't have to do anything with quantum computing at all. I mean, it was mainly on education and using virtual reality and augmented reality for education experiences. And this was, 2017, when even our mobile phones did not have enough power to support those 3D experiences. But my role was not technical at all. It was more on the operations and marketing and communications. So it was a bit deviating me from science, but also it was learning a new entire world. Like the business world and communications and marketing and how you actually can sell your product. It's an entirely different, I would say, experience of learning. But that work did not end up successful. So it failed at some point. And failure, I think, after doing a lot and investing a lot, is very harsh. It hurt a lot. I mean, it really did. even until now, I really cannot decide whether that was a big mistake or it wasn't. Because I know you can always say that you always learn and there is no bad, I would say, decision, or there is always, I would say, something to come up with from any experience, good or bad. But also I feel like I lost a lot of time not doing what I actually want, which is science, and then finding out how you can apply that into business. It was more of doing like a business in part of my studies, and then it was in a field that I didn't really understand much of, to be honest. I'm being very frank. My background was not in development of 3D experience at that point. So I don't know. Do we consider that a mistake? I don't have like a negative feeling about it. I don't consider it a mistake, but it was more of a deviation, I would say, than my actual path, which is more focused on research. But it was fun. It was for 2 years, I think, or 3 years. Yeah, like I said, it didn't end up as a successful business or successful company, but the entire process of it teaches you a lot. And looking at, I would say, building a business from different perspectives, it's very helpful. And even now, if I am starting a new company, I don't have that delusional excitement that you have as a first-time founder. I feel like I'm much more realistic. I am much more responsible. I know this is going to be hard work. If I'm starting to hire people, like I will have families depending on this work. So it's actually responsibility more than just an excitement. Oh, I have a company and I am a CEO and I am changing the world. I feel like I don't have that I call it delusional excitement. I'm definitely motivated to do what I want to do. I love what I do. But I'm also happy to have had that experience to teach me that it's much harder than you think it is. And I need to be realistic about what I want to do, what I can do especially. And yeah, definitely when they say that the team is the most important, I would say, part of the company, I really know that the team is the most important part of the company. So it is not just, I would say, a repetitive speech that you hear. No, it's a very, very important part, but also being technically competent. That's a very important element of building a successful product. And I would say now I have a much clearer view of how to build a company. I hope this one is going to be successful, but I feel like it's more humbling and it really makes you realistic.
Something that scares you off.
I'm going to be very human and say that I'm scared of failure. I am scared of failure. I really don't want to see a huge amount of my investment in energy and time and competence go to waste. And of course, yes, you can take good lessons.
I'm feeling the perfectionist as
There is a side of it. Yes, it may be like more of a sabotage thing. I mean, I am aware that if you are trying to be too perfectionist, you end up not doing anything. It's more of a paralyzing feeling. It ends up. But at the same time, I want to see results. Yeah. I mean, I'm happy with the results. I love that euphoria that when you reach something. And at least I want to come up of anything that I do in my life, personal or professional, with an output. It may not be as I had envisioned it when I first started, but once I know that I contributed with something, that I, as Sahar, had like done something and achieved something, for me it's a good starting point. I can improve it from that point. But if I don't do anything, and yeah, I don't like failure. I don't like it.
What will be your hidden talent in a zombie awakening?
Yeah. I think I can do this. So it's mainly I think being like protective, but at the same time leading. I think I may not be like the person who is like trying to kill the zombie, but I must have a plan on how to do it. I must have studied their weak points. I know where to hit them. I may not do it myself, but I know how to do it. So yes, I think I'm going to use my analytical skills rather than my survival skills. But I would say I will be a good person to follow in order to survive.
Something that you want to say that I didn't ask you.
About the coffee? I mean,
Yeah,
Yes.
of course. I mean, yeah, come
Yeah.
on. Tell us your best experience regarding to coffee.
yes. So I'm a huge coffee drinker.
Yeah.
I think it's more of a cultural thing in Tunisia. We have our own coffee, but also we consume the typical types of coffee. But every, I think, single decision or nice conversation that I've had in my life was over coffee. For friends or for like personal relations or even like professional relations. The first meeting to start the first company was over over a
Okay.
coffee. Probably also meeting my husband was over a coffee. I'm not sure anymore.
Well,
but
I'm not gonna ask. I'm not
Yeah,
gonna
yeah.
ask why.
my
You don't
friends
remember.
as well. Yeah, my friends as well. Yeah, I mean, I always also start my day with a coffee. So sometimes several ones over the day. I love it. But yeah, I think when you think of it, it's a huge part of my life. Yeah.
So
Now that you ask me the question, it's really important part of my. I've never paid attention at this point, but it's true.
coffee is something that
Yeah.
actually help us to socialize.
It is. Yeah.
And
True.
yeah, well, that's why this is Revela Cafe.
Yes.
That's why this amazing coffee. Did you like it?
Very much. Yes.
Perfect.
Thank you.
And well, thank you so much. Since you like coffee, you're gonna like this and this because this is
Oh,
for
cool.
you.
Oh, cool.
She-
Thank you. Thank you so much.
So the company also a women entrepreneur, and this is also something from London.
Thank you.
It,
Thank you so
There
much.
is some gift inside.
Perfect.
Thank you for your time.
It was a true
Thank you
pleasure
for-
to meet
Come
you
on,
and be on.
Daniel.
Yeah.
You're
let's
gonna,
hug.
you're gonna.
Nothing else to say. I told you it was an amazing story. Don't forget, inspire, dare, and change the world. Woof, woof.